Oh man, that's crazy how my doggone mic just dropped just now.
Hey,
Right.
hey,
What's
let me grab this stuff.
going on?
Whew, you know, out here existing. Okay.
Were you working on a project?
Oh yeah, I'm making my bed.
Oh, gotcha. I should actually do that too now that I'm thinking about it
Your
before
audio,
somebody.
your audio is kind of like staticky and robotic.
My audio? Okay,
Yeah.
let's see what's going on with that.
Someone came to say hi.
Meatball!
Look at he's looking at. Say hi.
He got so big
Why do people keep saying that?
because he was
He
so
was like
small.
so big. Feel like he's so small. He's spoiled. Would it be like you're on mute, but well, I'll put it in the chat.
All right. All right. How does that sound? That sound
It
better?
sounds the same. I can understand you, but it sounds the same.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm just have to edit all that out. Oh my god, I have so many people I have to interview today, and I have to be on a freaking podcast today as well. So, oh my god. Okay, Monday, day off Monday. Let's do it, yo. So, Donnie, tell the world about yourself. All my little listeners that are growing and stuff, and engaging.
Okay. All right. All right. You gotta cut that out. Meatball's like
Oh, in the
the eye.
house.
So yeah, my name is Dime. This is Meatball, and
That's the sun.
he's my grandson. And so my name is Dime Ellis. I'm an artist and organizer in New Haven. I've been organizing since I was a kid. It started off as putting together little talent shows at family gatherings, and then graduated to me putting on more like festival like events. So I think the biggest thing I did was Black Art Matters in 2020. All right, you guys get out of here with that. In 2020, at Ninth Square, and there were 50 artists, local Connecticut artists, um, whether they were visual artists, vendors, or performing artists. And it was such a great show. When I was there organizing, I was exhausted because putting on a show like that was a lot, even with the help that I
And what day was
had.
this? This was which day?
This was in 2020, August 28th.
Okay.
So last
It was
year,
outside.
huh?
It was
It
outside.
was outside.
Wow,
It was an
nice.
outdoor thing. There was so many people, like, and then it was the height of the pandemic, so I didn't even expect that many people to come, even though we had a lot of artists.
Right.
Not all of the artists were physically present, so there was a kind of like a program that we had going on where if you sent two pictures of your artwork, we would print for free. We would print 20 professional prints of your art and then sell it, and then you'd get 100% of the profit, regardless if you were there to collect the money or not. Because all the money, we would put people's cash apps on the pictures, so they would send the money straight to the artist and then grab the art and then just go. So people who weren't even there made money. Some artists made enough to pay rent. Like it was a really great show, and
Nice.
as an organizer, I was very proud of myself. But I also remember watching the performances and wishing that I could be there too. So I've always loved music, and I was very inspired by artists like Rico Nasty uh, to actually start recording my music. And I actually had to come out of a shell of insecurity in order to make it to the stage because I always associated being a performing artist with like the ultimate confidence level. Like
Mm,
people
mm.
who knew themselves, who were sure of their sound. Um, and I grew up comparing myself to people that just didn't sound like me or didn't really. I was pretty hard headed growing up. Like I didn't like the usual things. I didn't like R&B growing up. I didn't like most rap. I didn't like until it started becoming more rock oriented. Um, when Lil Wayne came out with his rock song, and then with Nicki Minaj, I loved Nicki Minaj. Even though at first I was kind of a hater because she had hairstyles and hair colors, like the colorful hair and the bob that goes to along. I wanted that hairstyle when I was younger, and my mom would say no because it looked crazy. And I was inspired by it originally because I would see, I watched anime a lot as a kid. So I wanted hairstyles like the anime characters, the colorful hair, the asymmetrical bob, like things like that really interested me. But my mom didn't approve. So when Nicki Minaj came out wearing what I was like, oh my God, this is so cute. Um, I first I felt threatened, but then I was like, wow, there's actually space for someone with my style in like um, in hip hop as a culture, but also like at, as a Black person. Like I grew up with a lot of anti-Blackness, so I wouldn't really feel like anything co-signed by Black communities, I would turn my back on. And I actually missed out on a lot of things that I didn't know I loved. Like, I really love graffiti. Um, not to say that Black folks are vandalizers, but graffiti is a way of reclaiming space, um, especially in an urban setting where we're disproportionately there's like redlining and there's fucking just systemic oppression everywhere. It's really hard to. Do you hear that?
Yeah, well, I hear him.
That's
So
that's the
yeah,
other cat.
there's a lot to unpack there. So my curiousness is that so you did this you did these awesome programs with the is it with the Arts Council or is it with the art space that's I can't even think of that other art space. I know you worked
It's called.
for
It's called
what is
Art
it
Space.
called?
Art Space.
Oh yeah. All right, there
So
you go. It's called Art Space. All right, and they drop a lot of great things. I mean, I went to a teach-in once where they were talking about the Black Panther Party. Do you
yeah,
think that the arts? Because I can definitely reconcile with you. I'm literally in my interviewer bag, so be prepared because you said a lot of great things that I feel that can get some expansion on. So the first thing is that do you feel like the art you being part of the art space and putting on these great events and having all these amazing artists come by has it given you an outlet to tap in more with Black community? Has it helped you? Was there also something in the beginning before that that you started to love your community? Because every Black person I feel like goes through this. Either we're going to choose to be for our community or we're going to choose to see our community on a negative way. I could go on stories of just trying to be happy about the skin I'm in. So I guess the first question is it was the art space that helped you fall in love with your community more, or was this before?
No, I was already on the wave. So I started, it was so weird. So like it's not weird, it's just like it felt like a switch for me. Because in high school in 2012 I believe I was a sophomore in high school, and I I had just started writing poetry in like 6th grade. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and as a Black person, and I was part of the Future Project, which was this awesome program, and it's actually nationwide, but they had to downsize, and so the Connecticut chapter doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. But the Future Project was a program built into high schools around the country, meant to empower young people, especially young people of color, to chase their wildest dreams, basically. And the Future
Okay.
Project was awesome because they would literally give you the resources to do whatever you wanted to do. If you were like I was like, oh, I want to start an anime club, and we take a trip to Connecticut, and we did that. They supported me in doing that, and
Mm.
that was one of the first times I organized, like really, really organized. Um, but so
Mm.
they knew I was into poetry and I loved writing. So and then poetry was such a big thing. It still is. It's a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I usually would write my poetry, but one day, my Future Project director, Eve King, she showed us a video of this Black person from the UK, and he was performing a spoken word poem as if it was like a music video. And I fell in love with that video. Like I watched it so many times, and I was amazed that somebody could take poetry and put it into performance. I'd never seen that before.
Nice.
And then I started going to open mics and things like that. And at the same time, we people are having conversations about injustices, systemic injustice, and how like um, so I believe Michael Brown had just been shot and killed by the police. And so it was a huge
Mm-hmm.
conversation about like police brutality and things like that. And I wanted to use my poetry in order to make an impact and to have a voice in those conversations about like Blackness and like all the things. As I started to write about injustices and learn about the actual history of Black people's relationship to America, and also like how fucked up capitalism is, I was like, wow, I've really been done wrong. Like, I've been miseducated my entire life. And that was the switch that I was like, okay, I've been miseducated. Like, I'm not like less than because I'm Black. I'm actually fucking dope because I'm Black. And like,
Mm.
because I'm an artist and I'm queer and I'm Black living in America and I'm still here. And like, so I started to just feel really proud. Um, and I started to love myself, and I finally started to love the culture around me. It took a lot of unlearning. I started to read a lot. That's where I started to finally love myself and Blackness, was educating myself and unlearning. And then as far as art
Right.
space goes,
Right. Decolonization.
right. As far as art space goes, I've been working nonprofit. I first started working at The Word, which is a poetry empowerment, youth empowerment program. Um, actually, actually I worked at Art Space first during the summers,
Mm.
and they just gave me the resources, like the space, the budget to be able to do certain things that I knew the community needed. Like when I worked at Art Space in conjunction with Public Allies Connecticut, I was able to pitch projects.
That's the AmeriCorps internship, right?
Right.
All
So
right. Yeah, I did a little sister intern branch in Bridgeport. I'm familiar with that. Go ahead.
they're so awesome. they basically funded for me to be able to work at Art Space full time. And so because I was full time, like it's a small nonprofit. They don't particularly need someone to work 40, like an intern to work 40 hours a week. So I had the opportunity to pick ideas to fill in those hours. And so I actually started to do more things that would incorporate local Black artists instead of I was so tired of seeing the same artists in galleries or performances. I was like, well, there's all these emerging artists out here in New Haven, and like, let's give them a chance at the spotlight. So I was particularly interested in centering artists who hadn't had a chance to be put on like newhavenarts.org or to be showing at citywide open studios. Young Black artists didn't even know about citywide open studios. Like the people I was reaching out to be like, hey, I'm doing a pop-up shop at Citywide. Do you want to do a thing? They didn't even know what I was talking about. Like, and it's such a awesome
I don't know
resource.
what that is.
Okay, so Citywide Open Studios it's kind of like a month-long art fest. Various events throughout the month hosted by Art Space New Haven. And it's things like, it's literally called Open Studios because people can open their art studios to the public and show their art, sell their art, or do performances. This year, it's very flexible because of COVID. It's not going to be at one location. So every year they have they have things throughout the month, but then they have a big like showing in a big building. And this year they're going to reduce it to people. If you have an event happening during the month of October, Art Space will advertise it. And so it could be as small as like, oh, I'm vending on my front porch today.
Now I know this. I could have gave them my flyer to Indigenous Peoples Day open mic.
See, yeah.
Lord have mercy.
There's some
7 days left.
There's some great resources that Art Space has. And they're also a small nonprofit. So sometimes things fall through or like slip through the cracks. And like, it's weird because they are like a powerhouse organization in New Haven. So there's these expectations that artists have for them, but also they're very like, they have a staff of 2-3 people. It also makes me think about like the resources that are available in New Haven and how it might help to redistribute those resources. Like Art Space is a small organization. They have like 3 regular employees. And honestly, I'm gonna be so honest and a Gemini right now. Their exhibitions have not been popping since the show you were just talking about, the Black Panther Party 50th anniversary show that they had was fantastic. Yeah. Also, the one following it, directly following it, was the Dia de los Muertos show in 2019.
Yeah, that was fire.
With Unidad. Yeah. Unidad Latina en Acción. That was awesome. I feel like after that, it's been pretty bland in there, and it's just been making me think like, how could this space be put to better use? How could they redistribute this particular resource? Because artists need space, and it's like, you're a tiny organization. Do you really need this whole space? So I'm just thinking about,
hey, like, let's think of something. Life in my days, we could probably do something too.
Right? I'm gonna need them to sign over the deed to Art Space.
But look at the work that goes on with that. You know what I mean? And would you say you were the only person that was able to have that opportunity? Because I've seen public allies, from my experience with AmeriCorps, public allies from all over the state. I saw them in schools. I saw them in colleges and stuff like that. I didn't know that they were allowing someone like you to take a great opportunity to use their resources to actually do something phenomenal like that. And I say phenomenal in a way as like that's kind of different from what I saw AmeriCorps during my time of service. I mean, yeah, I did acting for AmeriCorps, but it was acting controlled by them. Did they have any control for you, or you had literally leeway to do whatever you want to do?
I feel like I had a lot of leeway. They were very understanding. I was also open from the jump about the fact that I was an artist and organizer, and I wanted to use the opportunity of public allies to do art. Like I literally, um, after I'd submitted my application to public allies, I had talked to who used to be the executive director, Helen Cotter, and I said, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
I signed up for public allies. Which what can Art Space be my host organization?" Because they weren't originally on the list to host anyone. I had to take the initiative to be like, "This is what I want to do." A lot of that experience was me taking the initiative. Like, I'm really proud of myself
Mm.
for the way Black Art Matters went, because I put that together with the help of two other young artists in 3 weeks. And it all started with me being like, I have an idea. I'm going to take the initiative. And at this point in my life was very much me trying to gain the self security and confidence to take initiative and be like, this is my idea. I want to do it. Yes or no. And so I'd gotten the courage to talk to the new executive director, Lisa Dent. And I said, hey, I have a project idea. What do you think if the budget is like $200? And I think it was way over $200. We ended up fundraising I think like $4,000 in 3 weeks. Like it was
Oh
awesome.
shit, nice.
But it was a lot of me taking initiative. Like it wasn't like they were like, here's this freedom. Because a lot of other people in my cohort who were at Public Allies didn't have that same experience. Like they didn't have as much
Mm.
reign, or they didn't do as much in their organizations. But I wasn't satisfied doing the status quo. Um,
Right.
Actually, this year, I worked at Arts Council over the summer through the city, through Arts Workforce Initiative. And I decided I wasn't going to take as much initiative. I wanted to be more of um, I wanted it to be more of a learning experience where I was taking
Mm-hmm.
things in rather than giving. And I wanted
That's dope.
I wanted to learn how to be a better organizer with a larger organization. And so it was me like sitting back mostly, and they did ask like, do you have any ideas that you want to do this summer? And it took so much for me to be like, no, I'm good, because I did have ideas. But I really needed to learn. Like I really wanted to put myself to the test and like, can I follow protocols? Can I figure out the grounding aspects of organizing, like the basics of it? Because there were little things that slipped through the cracks when I
That's
organized.
absolutely dope.
Yeah.
That's humbling as well too. So everyone that's listening, there's a lag between me and Dime. I believe they are a minute ahead of me, not a minute, a few seconds ahead of me. So if you hear like a space, that's just because the website is catching up. So, what would you? So that's very humbling, especially for a lot of people in Connecticut. I don't want to say any names, but some people have a tendency of wanting to push forward with whatever they want and not want to actually learn from other people, because you can actually learn a lot, especially from somebody that's in a space that has grown the arts council to what it is right now. There is so much you can learn from that, and that's amazing that you were able to just be like, I'm just going to chill and check things out, because I know a lot of people can't do that. That's a very great skill.
Yeah. But once I I realized though this summer that I don't want to do nonprofit work anymore. Like I'm still interested in organizing.
Why?
I love organizing, but I feel like first of all the nonprofit industrial complex is real.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's so real, and
That's a whole nother episode.
yeah, I'm into it. But I just wasn't satisfied with I just like art space, how I said they have this space, but it's not being utilized to its fullest potential, and it's a resource that local artists could use. I feel like nonprofits kind of get in the way of they're like the middleman of the resources that artists need. And I didn't understand why we have to go through the approvals of a nonprofit org when we could just be given the resources straight up. I feel like that culture is changing though. Like Arts Council just put out this amazing grant where they're giving artists in New Haven $10,000 unrestricted funds. And it's I
Oh
believe
shit! I need to apply for that.
I believe the application process for this round is closed. So what they did was they put out a nomination cycle. They put out a nomination cycle where either you could nominate yourself or you could nominate other artists. And then they would review all the artists. I believe they have 60 something submissions, and they're having 3 rounds of giving out $10,000 to 12 artists. So 36
All right, well,
artists.
Arts Council, you better get ready for highest frequency records coming through. We gonna knock on that door real soon.
So 36 artists in New Haven are going to receive $10,000, and I feel like it's going to create a totally new era of art in New Haven. It's going to boost certain careers, and I'm really excited for that, for New Haven to change in that way. And I think that it's also super radical to be like, we're going to give artists 5, what do you call it? A 5-digit check. And like that's the type of resource giving that I like, because it's like, you don't have to follow their rules or anything. You just are who you are. And then you are who you are. People vouch for you. And then like you're considered for this amazing opportunity. Yeah, I think something like that is really radical, and we should be distributing funds more frivolously, more openly, not so like restricting. Oh, we'll give you $10,000, but you have to create, or not 10,000. We'll give you like $2,000, but you have to create a mural and use half of the money for the supplies. Like stuff like that is like, okay, but also think about how many hours it takes to create a mural. Is $1,000 really going to cover like the cost of living for that person for that month that they're creating the thing, or 2 months while they're creating the thing? No. Also, Arts Council has, I've been telling everybody about this one. They have a art studio, which is best for musical and maybe even dance rehearsals. But it's a awesome art, like a studio space that's completely free. You just sign up to come in for the day. You get a code. You have a key fob that takes you to the second floor. And it's a gorgeous space that I go there to rehearse my music before performances. And
you have to send me this information.
I'll send you the link. Love & Co. practices there. Tabisa practices there. It's a space where you can get connected to local artists and also enhance your own art.
That's dope. Have you ever heard of... What's up?
Go ahead.
You ever heard of Stud the Kid? Stud the Kid is a Black lesbian woman who has a record label, and guess what she does with her record label? She gives all
Mhm.
her artists housing, healthcare, and also childcare for
That's
free.
freaking awesome. I'm about to Google this. Where's my phone?
I just interviewed her, and I'm gonna have the episode drop next week. Trying to do a big push on
The
that,
kid
especially for Black people to see that, because that stud, stud the kid.
on Instagram.
That's something
Well,
that
I
New Haven can definitely like. That would be so insane if somebody could pull that off.
yeah, that's awesome. I've been saying that we need like affordable housing, a communal housing space for artists that is connected to a performance and gallery space would be phenomenal. I keep saying this. Like it's in the ether, and um hopefully we can achieve that someday. That's a level of organizing that I am not familiar with yet, but we can get there. Like, gotta start somewhere, you know.
I know, right? I just want to bring that out for some inspiration right there, because that's definitely something real. You know what I mean? That all artists can have, and that's dope as hell. That the Arts Council was giving out money like that. I wish I knew about that earlier. Honestly, I think Norm sent it to me, and I just never actually looked at it yet because I was so busy with something else. But that's just dope. And so basically, like, you are very embedded in building like good quality opportunities with artists, which is why I'm so sad that you don't want to do nonprofit no more, because ain't no telling what else you can do just off of that. You had such a successful going so far, you know?
Yeah, really I'm like an anarchist kind of. I'm kind of like an anti-hero or something, where I really like radical, like unfiltered art in um performance, exhibitions, things like that. I feel like the nonprofit thing kind of gets in the way of what I want to do as an artist.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
because like you know my music, I'm very raunchy. Um,
Yeah.
and even the way I want to dress in my performances, the art that I want to display, I feel like doesn't align so much with what I see the nonprofits in New Haven supporting, which is
Right. I
okay.
see.
It's okay. Like, I'm just a different breed, and yeah. So I feel like I should break away and find what works for me. I really like. I'm so inspired by very similar. It's not nonprofit, um, but it is like mutual aid work through like clubbing. This is especially popular in New York, where the nightlife is actually activism, where queer, indigenous, and Black people of color are putting on nightlife events and using the money for mutual aid. Things like that, I'm like, whoa, this
That's
is
absolutely dope.
so cool. And then people can be
Yeah.
themselves, show up with their titties hanging out, and they got raunchy art on the wall, and like they're supporting sex workers and things like that. I feel like the type of work that I want to do is kind of almost unheard of in New Haven. Not that I'm
Yeah.
gonna leave New Haven or anything. I love this city. I'm definitely gonna like expand my horizons and maybe live in a couple other places for a while. But this is my home. Like, I want to bring those awesome aspects to this city, like nightlife that is mutual aid. Like, what? That's so cool.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah, right, yeah.
I could still get nonprofit support, but right now I want to focus on me as an artist, and I'm not as like polished and posh as these nonprofits kind of expect artists to be. But also, we're in a
Mm,
transitioning era, so those expectations are bound to change, and I'm ready for that.
mm. Yeah, I feel you on that. That's why I've been so adamant on trying to keep the open mics going, because I want people to be able to have a platform to just express how they feel, as long as it's not, you know, this discriminatory or homophobic or anything, or racist or anything. Like, that's the type of realness that I was trained with when I was in the poetry teams and all that stuff in high school and all that stuff. So I felt like New Haven definitely has this type of like cleanup vibe, and I think it's because of Yale. I think it's because of Yale, honestly. And I'm not trying to be mean about Yale, but I think it's just because Yale has a certain appearance, and everybody has no choice but to try to like allocate to that appearance.
True,
They want to keep going on.
trying to appease to them because they literally have billions of dollars, and like there a
Right.
lot of these organizations get funding from Yale. Like they have internship programs where Yale is actually paying these nonprofits to have their students as interns. And
Right.
it just like when you are relying on a abusive and oppressive institution for basic resources, it's gonna get ugly because like they
Yeah.
don't actually respect the artists that these nonprofits claim to support. So it's just like a disconnect. It's that weak link. And that's why it's so important to pour our resources into the actual community and the people and the artists, so that once we have our own resources, we don't got to worry about what Yale wants, what Yale needs. Like, fuck them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have the power
Yeah.
to, like, we're valid. We're so valid. Also, like, um, I felt like the nonprofit thing, I wasn't able to include certain artists in opportunities that I really wanted to include in. Like if I was putting on a show, and I needed to get musicians, some of the people off the top of my head are local rappers, and
Mm-hmm.
singers and stuff, but their musical delivery isn't too standard. So I
What
felt
does that mean? What do you mean by standard? Did somebody tell you that?
no, no, it's
I'm about
just
to say, I'm
like
like, these mother effers.
I'm not exactly talking about conscious rappers. Not
Right.
that they themselves aren't conscious, but like their lyrics might be a little more rugged than the audiences that these nonprofits cater to are used to hearing. And I feel like
Mm.
my mission with the nonprofits was to change that. Like people not knowing about opportunities, nonprofit opportunities and resources. I'm trying to change that because um like it could benefit so many careers for people to actually tap in. Um
Tap
and
in.
if I'm changing the audience, then the actual artists are going to change too. Like so Arts Council had these weekly pop-up shows on the green all summer. They were supposed to
Yeah, I
end on the
saw those.
they were supposed to end on the 2nd. But I think they're going to end either this week or next week. Um and it was my job to curate the artists for the summer, and so I made a point to include rap artists and any like young black artists in New Haven. There were I just wanted more unfamiliar faces behind on the mic so that people are like, oh, this is what the city has to offer as far as talent goes. Okay, so here's a cool story. At one of the performances, it was the Hawkins band. They're actually a band of all white dudes. Of course, I prioritized putting Black artists on the mic, but Arts Council is very much like, well, we need to diversify. So, and also this band was pretty cool. They're pretty lit. They're called the Hawkins Band. And while they were performing, someone came up to our booth. And first of all, her vibe was very like, wow, I should probably say hi to this person and try to befriend them or something, because I feel like our energies are similar. I mean, they're clearly a queer Black person and they had tattoos, and I was like, okay, like gang. And I said hi to them, but when I looked at them, I was like, wow, you look really familiar. Why do you look so familiar? And I was like, do I know you? And they're like, oh, probably. But they were so interested in the band, like they actually stuck around and watched the band, and that they were really shy about actually talking to the band afterward. But when I asked, like, I was like, do I know you? And they're like, yeah, maybe. And I was like, I realized that the person I was looking at was formerly known as Snopra, currently known as Snosa. And I don't know if you do know about Snosa? Really? Okay, so Snosa.
Are they rappers?
Yeah, it's one person, a rapper.
Okay.
She came out with the song Rank Rhythm in 2018, I think. And it was a very popular song. It was on the radio. She actually got signed to Atlantic Records.
Nice.
And I think she moved somewhere, maybe Atlanta or something. But she came back in order to attend Yale as a student. Nice. And so she just happened to be walking around, and it's stuff like that where like you never know who's there, who's around in New Haven. New Haven's actually full of very talented, very successful people. And I just think it was a really important moment, like for even though like the band wasn't the demographic that I typically prioritize, it made me realize like how important it is for artists to have that exposure. Because she was like, wow, I kind of want to work with these guys. And that's a huge opportunity for them as local artists to be working with someone who's signed. And I don't know if they ever actually connected or anything, but I was just like, wow, we need to create more settings like this where artists are connecting with each other and making valuable networking.
Oh yeah, exposure is so important, which is why we stay in fucking New York all the time. Even when I get fucking tired.
What I've heard is that people will gain exposure here in New Haven and Connecticut and then venture out, and like because they might have more followers online or something,
right,
they appear more not that they appear more popular than they are, because they are popular, but like once you leave your city and you're a big fish in a small pond and you leave your city, like I felt this way, not that I'm like super popular or anything, but I felt this way when I'm in Connecticut, it's one thing, and then going somewhere else like New York or Atlanta, and nobody knows me, it's like kind of awkward, because I'm kind of cocky. Like I feel this sense of entitlement because I know I'm a dope artist and I'm the shit in my city. So I'm like, I feel like, well, anybody should be respected, but I just feel like there's a certain level of respect that I deserve. And then when I don't get it, it just feels weird. But Yeah, and I feel like, I mean, I guess I would like to get to a point where I'm going to any city and then people are like, Dime's dope. But yeah, like, I went to New York to go clubbing with a friend, and because I did not have a vaccination card, they gave me a hard time about going into the venue. And in New Haven, something like that would not happen. Like,
Yeah.
I know people, so I'd be getting into venues. And it was just a really like uncomfortably humbling experience to be like, who are you? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, not that I'm famous or anything, but it's like when I go to like small venues like Crunch House or State House, like there's a certain
Criteria.
there's a certain level of like, yeah, attention that comes with Indigo being in the room.
Yo, Dime, I gotta let you go because I gotta interview this other podcasters. But let's get you back on another time.
Okay, yes.
I got my calendar is going crazy right now. I'm so sorry.
I'm happy for you.
I just realized this person has 11 o'clock, and I'm like, damn, it's 10:59 right now.
Yeah.
If you want, you could come on with us. It's another queer activist that has a podcast.
That's cool. Can I smoke?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is my show.
I'm not doing.
And it's legalized. We're in Connecticut. People. So
I'm like rolling right now.
Yeah, word. So I'm gonna send you the link in the Instagram because it's a different link.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we're gonna go right over and talk to this guy.
Okay. Cool.
See what this guy's about.
Cool.
And boom.